What is up, my Dama nerds? Super excited for a wonderful, beautiful, this is going to be a fucking nostalgic type episode right here, everyone. Dama Nerds, episode 35. I'm your host, MJ, always accompanied by my buddy over in Canada, sipping that maple syrup, Rod. Dama, what's up?
What up, nerds? Sipping on that syrup over here in Canada. You know, just chilling. Some call it syrup, others call it wiggle juice, some call it gin and juice, you know, but that's what we're sipping on for today.
Hells yeah. If everyone has noticed, we have a great guest. But before we get into that, let's give him the opening. It is 11:03, May 12th, 13th year of Sander here in the Japan time. Rod,
yeah,
what do you got?
Over here, it's, you know, like I said, I'm drinking the wiggle juice, so it's a little later than that. It's May 11th, still Monday over here, 7 p.m. Still the 13th year of Sander.
Yes, it is.
And like you said, man, let's like without further ado bring out our guest.
Dude,
you know, he's sitting here smiling at me in the window. I can't keep him quiet anymore.
Hells yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the one, the only,
Mr. Matt Ballard.
Yo.
Matthew, Matt, what do you like to go by?
I usually go by Matt. Like in middle school, it turned into Matt. So I wanted to be I didn't want to be little Matthew anymore. And now I'm kind of like trying to go back to Matthew, but
yeah,
it's too deep. Like in some scenes I'm already in, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll take Ballard too. So.
Oh, okay. That's another one. That's true. True.
But when I introduced myself to girls as Matthew.
Oh man. So back-to-back episodes of the Wenatchee Kendama Team boys. Last episode we just had Keith on, and now we're having Matt. I'm just so excited, dude. The fanboy in me is just like so, man.
Jumping up at the walls, just let me out.
Dude,
I love it.
So excited. And we are really excited and happy to have you, because there are a lot of people who remember you from back in the day, what would you even say? Like, for me, it was like 2013, 2014 when I started seeing that for myself, but I'm sure you were a team much longer and before that.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely, because I always remember, because there was Dhamma Fest 2013. That was the one, you know.
That was the one that sparked it all up.
That was when everything like kind of had exploded, because prior to that time, we had Wenatchee Kendama Team and we were making videos, but we had never we haven't really traveled anywhere. And Keith was on, was he even on track? No, I can't remember with him, but basically 2013, Kendama USA, Jero had hired me to shoot the Dhamma Fest 2013 video. And so I went there on Ken USA dime to make the video, because I was already Jero and I had already been talking a little bit and I was already making videos. But then at that time too, we had made a little bit of money through WKT, and then we flew Nick Mayo, Zach Winters, Alex Loomer. I think Keith went on Ken USA's dime at that time, but we took 3 of the WKT boys out, and it was paid through WKT, you know. And so we had shirts.
Okay, I was about to say, how'd you make money?
No, but we had actually made money prior to that, because we used to do gigs in Wenatchee. We were the yo-yo guys.
Oh, no way.
So we would actually go to schools and put on, you know, little shows. And I don't know, we had made money somehow, because when we made Where We Are, that was Kendama USA sponsored, and I got paid a very small amount of money. Yeah. And then we also got paid because we did the premiere of the film, and we sold out the theater, and people paid tickets. You know, it was $5 a ticket. There was you know,
and that was huge, wasn't it? I remember seeing all the pictures and everything. It looked like there was 1 million people there.
Yeah. So, and we had raffles, I think, too, you know. So we had actually, this is funny, I was just thinking about this because I actually opened up like a new bank account just for WKT. And like it wasn't needed whatsoever, but at the time, you know, it just seemed like the next phase. And then I remember like I really was super adamant about like trying to turn it into this thing. And so I told Nick, like, yeah, man, you got to be in charge of like the finances of it. And what we were like, 16, 17. So you got to be in charge of the finances of this. And so then, you know, he like joined on to this, to this account. And, you know, I think we did one other thing and paid for, you know, for some gas money or something like that. But yeah, that was really like, but yeah, that was around the time when everything kind of came together, because then that's when I met the Chrome fam, and then that was when all that took you know, its own direction. But yeah, and I think that was also the first time where it really felt like, you know, you're making face in the community, and so there was a particular like coming together at that time. It then just really escalated from there. You know?
Right. Yeah. So how long before that? Let's go back. Let's meet cute baby Matthew.
Yeah.
First time picking up a kendama. Where'd you get it? Where'd you see it?
T-shirt on.
Oh, huge.
2XL wolf tee.
Right. Yeah. always in the flip flops.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my gosh.
So what started it all?
Only.
Green Uzoras only.
So I first saw, it was really, you know, this, as you said, it's really nostalgic. You know, all of these things are quite beautiful, and it's interesting these days to see the ways that things come full circle. You know, and now I'm seeing not only like literal connections full circle, but also kind of like intuitive or philosophical things that are like, they were intuitive at the time, just reasons that I became attracted to something, and you're just into it because when you're in middle school and you're at that age, you just do things because you want to, you know. And now like I do things and I think about them a lot more, and I've made my own path, but now I see like, oh shit, how I got into this at that time, that was so me at the time. And that actually like really exemplifies who I am and how I see things and how I come to things, you know. So 2008 in September of 2008.
Okay.
I was at a Hastings, which is a bookstore that no longer exists.
Oh, right.
They did like books and DVDs. I was in the magazine section, and I was looking through like, basically I found this rollerblading magazine, and the rollerblading magazine was called One.
Were you into rollerblading at the time? Middle school and stuff?
Rollerblading was a thing that I was into, but was never good at. It was like, because there was no scene in Wenatchee for rollerblading, and there was really not the right landscape for it either. But as kind of with everything in the WKT like childhood, all of us would find like, basically if Keith was skateboarding, then I couldn't skateboard. Like if Keith skateboarded, then I rollerbladed. You know?
Like you guys all had your own things going on.
Keith had a pink Azora, so I had a green Azora, and Nick had a light blue Azora.
That was just like an unwritten rule.
Yeah, and it just worked out because there was kind of like, you know, 5 of us who were hanging at the time, and within all things, there's kind of like 3 to 5 versions of something. So it was always like Nick scootered, Keith skateboarded, and I rollerbladed. You know?
Man, who was on the BMX?
Yeah,
right.
Flat landing.
That was it. There wasn't enough people for BMX. But I was like, I was just watching a lot of like YouTube videos, and I had it's not Rems, but Razor. I think it's the brand.
Razor.
Anyway, But I was
wouldn't know.
blading, and then I found this magazine, and I was looking in it at the store actually, and then I flipped through to this picture of
He's
who I
looking
didn't
through
know
it. I'm sorry.
what
I could just see you like, I'm into rollerblading. I want to get into it, but I don't know if I want to spend $14 on this. Let me just look through it right here at the store.
Oh, totally.
Sorry,
dude.
Yeah.
And no, it's great, dude. And literally, man, I still remember it. I remember opening this page to this photo of, it was actually young Jero.
Wow.
And it's Jero, and there's this really beautiful wooden table, super beautiful, and super dark behind him. There's this top light, probably just like kind of umbrella, soft top light, is coming down onto him. And he is like propped with his like arm on the table, and his fist like against his hand, and he's just looking at the camera. And then beside him is a stack of kendamas, which are stacked horizontally on top of each other. So like with the tama or with on the big cup, and then they're stacked like they're one on one side and one like
staggered
this.
Lunars, but not lunars because they're flat.
And what was tight was like they were like pretty much all Mugans, and then maybe there was like a TK16, and then some of them were just like oddballs. Like there was this one that was just painted completely gold, you know, someone had just like done it themselves, you know, and there was one that was like totally black.
Yeah.
And so there was just these stacks of like really individual, like highly personal, you know, basically they're these like sculptures, because I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to me, because it was like this person who's just looking so like seriously at the camera, like in this photo, it's like super young Jero, and he's just looking at the camera, like so just cool looking. And beside him were just like these weird sculptures, and I'm like, what is that? And so basically, I started reading through it, and it said, as a rollerblader, we're all familiar with lag time. Like it's part of our community that we're always waiting around for people. Like we're waiting for people to come to start the session, and or this or that, and we always have time
waiting for the batteries to charge again.
And so exactly, and so the cure for this lag time is what's called a kendama.
Wow.
And it basically said, like, I can't describe to you what the feeling of playing kendama is. Like the only way I can describe it it's as if you landed an ollie over a stair set for your first time. It's that, you know, and like I was already hooked, obviously, you know. And it actually went on. What was really beautiful about this one page article was that it went on to describe a brief mythology of kendama in the rollerblading scene. And so it mentioned, I think it mentioned Alex Brosco, but I can't remember. But I specifically remember it said something about the Godfather of American Kendama, Colin Sanders. And it said, you know, it says even like blading, how people have styles and things they're known for, it's the same with kendama, with the high level precision, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The Godfather, Colin Sanders, even to the beat making of clicks from Montre Livingston. And Montre Livingston was another rollerblader who is totally insane. And I also played drums, and I was also beatboxing. Like this is all my, you know, my middle school childhood just wrapped up into one. And it's talking about this thing that you can carry in your pocket that has complete infinite creative possibilities for you 24/7. And it also already has a mythology around it where people are using music or even creating music with it, you know. And like, if you even type in Montre Livingston Kendama, you can't find anything. But like in the scene, people knew because he would be playing kendama at like you know, at the meetups or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And like, if you watch through, I tried to go back recently because I remembered that I had found a few clips of him playing kendama, but like, you have to go back to like 2008 and watch through all of his videos from 2008, and like you'll find one or two clips of him doing moshikame and like doing it in this like kind of way. But like the fact that there was this like mythology around him making beats out of his kendama was just like so fascinating to me, you know. So I literally remember, and I'm not saying this like just to be nostalgic, like for the sake of it, but I literally remember looking at this thing and thinking, this is my thing. This was made for me. And so I got the magazine. I bought it.
Yeah. It moved you so much. You needed the article.
I needed it, you know? And so then I went home, started looking up videos.
Yeah.
Who do I find? You know, of course I look up Colin. Colin was on like edit 5 at the time or something like that. So I watched through all of Colin's videos. And then I found Shimadera-san.
Ooh. Extreme kendama tricks. Yeah.
Watched through every one of Shimadera's videos. And it was like with each person I was watching, there was a new like level of, you know, part that was like touching me, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was also for me, just kendama was like the entry into Japanese culture, right? So watching Shimadera was like the first time watching someone move like that and focus like that, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I remember having a really strong impression watching him and watching his type of like breathing and the way that he moved, you know, and also the way that he posted videos even, you know, because it was just one trick in normal speed and then in high speed. And like the high speed didn't even speed up. It was the whole thing, right? So it's like you would watch and meditate on the way that, you know, if you're just, it's like Rod, like your thing, where if you're like this, and then you just like flip it around your hand for all the people that are just listening to this.
Like a scramble, yeah.
Scramble.
If you're holding the Dhamma and spin it around.
Yeah. Dude, like you would just watch him do a scramble at 240 frames per second. And you were just convinced that this person was defying gravity through their focus, you know? And I was like watching everything but then I finally came upon, to me, the greatest edit of all time, which is Kendama Edit 2 Part 1 by Kendama HK.
Oh.
Kendama Hong Kong. To me, best edit of all time. And that was like, I saw that and the deal was done, like literally, you know, because it brought together the videos I was watching of Colin, of Shimadera, and then bringing it into this thing that was just so otherworldly and beautiful. And they were also with a high-speed camera. And I remember like there's this one shot in the beginning where when they're all playing with Mugans, but they're playing at the park, and they're this really amazing track. And he just would go from Lighthouse. He was like, I think he goes live into slow motion, and so it's like right as he lets the Tama out of his hands, it goes into like 300 frames per second, and it just the Ken and the Tama slowly come away from each other, and it was like right on this part of the music where it was like a spaceship was like taking off like in the track.
Shit.
And the two just come apart in slow motion, and he just reorients his hand in slow motion to grab it, and you see the hole come around, super slow motion, 300 frames per second, and you watch him watch the Tama to go in, you know.
Yeah.
And dude, there was like that and one other crazy move where, and I don't know his name, or this other guy's name, but it's worth noting that Smorchan was a part of this crew.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So he was like OG part of this crew, and they were doing like absolute bangers at the time already, which is just totally mind blowing to me. But there was this insane move that like was something for me that, you know, was just one of these moments, like just ingrained into my mind forever, where he just from holding the tama starts to pull up an airplane. The airplane's coming up, and the tip of the spike touches the tama halfway and sends it into a half rotation up and over into lighthouse.
Okay.
And the thing is, like, when, you know, it's like when you first try lighthouse, it just lands there and it sticks there and you don't move, because like if you try to move it, you lose it at the start.
right. Yeah,
you know, you just want it to land there, and then you got it and it's there. And there's something really beautiful about that. And that was how that move landed, where the Ken came up, the tip touches the tama, and it just flips around.
Just a slap in the lighthouse.
Flaps and just sticks there. And it was literally this like magic, you know, defying gravity, and it just like everything just lined up and it just stuck there, you know. And that was like the thing for me, that was like these moments of anti-gravity, you know, like what is the probability of this landing here and just sticking, and it's playing to this like crazy song, and it's all on the beat, and they're just chilling at the park, and that edit, there's these like crazy colors too, and they're wearing masks, and they're like it was everything, you know. So
there were so many different, so you saw so many, you were exposed to three major styles of kendama through those videos, right? Colin's, Shimadora's, and Kendama
the
HK.
Hong Kong guys.
So so you're able to see almost like which way to almost create your own style, or what path you would like to go down.
Dude, yeah, that's really interesting, because like now to look at it, that was I mean, just style wise in terms of playing.
Yeah.
And you look at just how things went for me and for us as a crew, like it was definitely the combination of the three of those people, for sure.
Man, I was gonna say too, like last time we were recording with Keith, we were talking about some of the old WKT videos and stuff, and some of your old edits that you can only watch on the old WKT Facebook.
On the Facebook page, yeah.
So I took a quick lurk on there, and I was watching the very first video you ever posted on there, which I believe was your first edit. And one of the tricks you did was from Lighthouse, and you do like a half flip, like spike tap back to Lighthouse, or maybe it's pull up. But either way, it was one of those spike tap flip like to Lighthouse. It's exactly what you were just describing, but you did it like. Well, I don't know how close those were, but like obviously just after, like it's very clear that was something that inspired you after.
Dude, totally. That, you know? I mean, I could talk about that idea in terms of now. For me now, I could talk about that idea as it relates to film and in art in general. But like, I love the fact that like you're not totally in control for a brief moment. Mm-hmm. And that something landing isn't quite up to you for a moment, right? Like obviously there's a style of play and precision where like you're just dialed and you're really like you're in control all the time. But when it comes to film and photography, I mean, like the greatest photographers from the 40s through the 60s, it was about like capturing a single moment that only existed in like one frame.
Yeah, almost
and
like those
there's
happy
something
accidents
about this idea where like exactly, happy accidents. Henry Cartier-Bresson. I love that, you know. I love that like you could make up a trick where it partially was up to chance, you know. And that there was just some like basically you were being gifted by the universe like to land it. I really liked that. I really liked I always like early on I liked having that kind of, you know, aspect of it.
The gamble, almost at risk.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
so was there a lot of times that you were filming a trick where you would just give up on, like, you're like, all right, that's like, I've been going for however many hours, it's not going to happen? Or would you be like, all right, put it on pause, we'll try next tomorrow or something?
Well, back in that time, we used to shoot tricks, one trick for hours and hours and hours. And it was so interesting. I remember a time when we first met the Chrome guys, before it was even Chrome, and we were talking with them, and we'd be talking about shooting, and then I think I was shooting them or something, and he'd be trying for 2 minutes, it's with Tokyo or Matthias or something, and then he'd be like, oh, maybe it's not the right trick, and I'll be like, we've been going for 2 minutes, bro. We're out here shooting for 4 hours.
That's not how this works.
Trick, And over time, it was funny just to realize that not everyone was doing that. But at the time, we have record of us trying 6 hours on one trick, relatively frequently. And
whoa,
there was the one trick that later on really haunted me, and I had a really tumultuous relationship with, was triple inward lunar flip.
Oof.
And that ended up being kind of one of the, in a weird way, highlights of my Dhamma life, if you will, because I ended up being the first person to land that trick. And Frasier and I kind of were he had done double, and then I think he did double first, and then I got double, and then it was kind of who's gonna get triple?
Yeah.
And so, but that was a trick that I gave up on a few times. And I remember one time in the basement of my parents' house, I tried it for 6 hours straight, and I was so mad.
Yeah.
So mad. And I used to get really mad playing Kendama.
That's easy.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I tried
totally.
it for 6 hours, and I gave up, and I swore that I would never try it again. And I was playing, and I was doing it on a green Uzora, just to put out there,
Anybody would give up.
Oh shit.
And so what happened was 2 weeks later, I was at Keith's house, and we were just jamming, and Keith was doing a lot of lunars, and he had this particular pink Uzora, this particular one that somehow was just the one.
Yeah.
Just had perfect balance.
The lunar Dama,
and the paint was somehow just stickier, and it literally, dude, I'm not kidding you, the Dhamma felt like a marshmallow.
Wow.
It was just so soft. The paint. Yeah,
there's a few. I have a few JKA buddies where they've shown me an Ozora of theirs, and the paint is like you said. It's there's a softness to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, which one is this? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a normal Ozora that I got, and sometimes it turns into this. I'm like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and so he told me, bro, use this Kendama and do triple inward lunar flip. And I was like, I was like, no. I was like,
I
told you. I was like,
Lord of the Rings.
I'm done with. I told you I'm done with that trick. I'm not doing it again. And he's like, dude. He's like, just give it 5 minutes, bro. Just use this Kendama. Give it 5 minutes. Just go for it. And I was like, fine, I'll try it. Okay,
Yeah.
So I set up the camera, and then pretty quickly, within 10 minutes on this magical pink Uzora, I got it. And I touched the string, but I didn't even care. And I remember at that time, the string touch was a really, controversial at that time.
Very
and
taboo.
Even within that trick, there was some call outs on it. But I landed the inward, and then I went to Lighthouse. And but it was literally the string was over the top of my hand when I got to Lighthouse.
All right.
And I was literally I've worked my whole life on this one trick, and there's no way I'm gonna let the string fuck me. And I remember having this instantaneous thought, I'm not risking my life's work on the string.
Whoa.
My life's work.
And so I moved the string, and like it kind of didn't. It went like halfway, you know. And then like I like hit it a second. I hit it a second time.
Oh.
And then you know,
man.
and then I landed it. The clip that you can find the clip. It's really kind of beautiful because I tried to play it cool, and I walked off the camera, and then in the shot there's a window reflection, and I exit the camera frame, but then me and my buddy just come in for the biggest haul of all time. You get the reflection.
That's so good.
Oh.
That's so good. And so that's funny. You said you and York when you were
Frasier. Yeah.
Frasier, sorry. Yeah, you and
Yes,
Frasier.
I remember, dude, like we were at, and in my mind, I thought like Frasier was going at it at that exact moment. Like we were both going for who can do triple and lunar first right now. And so I remember it was like, Keith, we got to put this out right now. And so we literally went up into his computer, edited it just into a single clip, and then put it out on Facebook just to like claim it.
Just to get that.
Yeah.
and then I ended up like, you know, years later talking with Frasier about it, and he was like, "Oh no, dude, I was never gonna try that trick. That shit was too wild." Because we were also both trying to get double stilt flip first.
Oh yeah.
I think it was and so we were about to do like dub stilt, and I remember specifically with triple inward lunar that we had this like thing, and I remember we spoke about it one time. It's really funny. But
nice. So I was always wondering, because like we're like experiencing kendama for the first time over here in North America, and like with like the invention of the internet and all that shit, and we're able to like share our accomplishments and stuff like this, and be able to say like we claim this. So how many people do you think?
Dude,
I don't know. I don't think so either. But I'm just curious.
No, because like, dude, I mean, even like Akira and and free kendama, freestyle kendama, freedom kendama.
Yeah, one of my
and like
favorites.
anyone you could watch, they didn't even do single lunar flips at the time. Like you couldn't even find a single lunar flip. The only person who was doing lunar flips. Did. Oh, you're right. No, you're right. I think he did a lunar flip. But Colin, he had done like, what edit was it? Where he had done like lunar flip, like inward lunar, and then to inward lunar flip or something like that. I can't remember.
I remember something like that. Yeah,
but I remember that like in North America, the lunar was really like taking like that particular trick.
It was landing
taking off.
In America. No, I think you're right. I'm just like I always have to wonder, because you know there's so much undocumented history, and like we were talking with Dero about he's half Japanese, right? And so he was saying he first brought his Dama home, and his his parents were like, you know what was really good with that was your grandma. And like no matter what trick he showed them, they'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good, but old grandma.
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah,
not like that. So
that's amazing.
And so who knows? Maybe Dero's grandma was slapping quad loon flips, man. Who fucking knows? I don't know,
dude. For real.
Well,
I'm just hopeful. Maybe I'm too hopeful.
I mean, you look at like, the history of, even in the books of, like even in Japanese kendama books.
Yeah.
And like old dojo, like what they've taught in dojos and stuff. And you like, I mean, but that goes back to this earlier conversation we were having pre-podcast about like the form of the Japanese kendama and what kind of tricks you would do, what the whole mentality behind it was, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like big cups weren't optimized for this high energy slapping to land, you know.
Totally.
That wasn't that wasn't what the kendama was like made for. Like it got turned into that,
right,
like into a spin to win, you know, contest. But
it's like old school.
It was about
skateboards. They were just like created with broken surfboards, and they're just like to get from this place to that place, so I can go
to ride. Yeah, not to pop ollies and do flips and shit. Yeah,
right. Totally. Yeah,
it's a good analogy.
But it always like specifically with that edit with that Kendama HK edit, that one more so makes me wonder like what was done over there, because that's in 2008, bro, and like that stuff was the like really interesting stuff, you know. Like Smorchan does base cup, dub gunslinger, base cup, dub gunslinger spike.
Ooh.
And it was like, and he had also did base cup, and then he goes sideways under gunslinger, so he like flips it and then comes this way gunslinger, like, and I think I can't remember where he went to, but I remember he would do these. I think he would just like do it, and he would do it like off axis, so it'd be like 45 degree off axis, and then gunslinger, and then just like come back to base cup.
Okay, yeah.
And that was always some, you know, it's like it was those things that later on I was really trying to experiment with. Like there's some old edits where I was doing these like upside down like gunslingers, and that was all like, that was still, everything went back, like that edit was the Bible for me. Like everything just went back to you know, this weird like airplane tip, and it's like sideways gunslingers, everything in slow motion, you know. It was all like, everything came out, like they were even doing do we even still call it a sleigh chain?
I mean, we still call it a sleigh chain. We're just more ashamed of it these days, I feel like.
Yeah. I think they were the first, I don't know, but that was the first place I saw it, because at the very end, so there's part 1 and then there's a part 2, and at the end of part 2 they do a sleigh chain, and I'm trying to remember I can't remember how they end it, but I remember seeing that, and that was also a big inspiration for me, because I was like, wow, there's 3 people here playing with one kendama.
Yeah, right.
You know,
things that you never like, even thought of yet. Never mind.
Tried,
right.
Yeah,
totally.
Anyway, yeah. So I didn't even say like, eventually, I mean, I'll just compact it, but basically, yeah, I got this like janky kendama after watching all these videos. I got this janky kendama from like,
holy shit, we've been on the grind for like 40 minutes. When you picked up that magazine.
First question. Hell
we didn't even. See, so the first kendama. I know. So you bought one. I was gonna follow up with how much of these videos did you watch before you're like, I need to buy one, or did you look at the magazine, you bought one, and then you're like, what can I do with it? Go, let me search online.
Yeah, dude, I think I was watching videos for like a week, and then my brother did a trip to Seattle, and we were in Wenatchee. Like, he went to Seattle, he went to this Japanese store and saw kendama in a package, but it was a really janky one, you know,
like a tourist kendama.
Yeah, but like the worst one. There's a video. Oh, I think it's on my Ballard Chrome Instagram. I think there's a video of me like 11 years old or whatever, like playing with it, and I just go like big cup, and I do Ken flip back to big cup, and then I just walk off the frame. Yeah. But yeah, I got one of those. I played it for like 2 days, and then immediately went to goods from Japan.
Yeah,
and I got a green Azora, and then I was like, green's my color, so I was just, okay, green's the one for me, you know. And then
so nobody else in Wenatchee was allowed to have a green Azora. No, that was it.
No,
oh damn.
Yeah, exactly.
So
just like unspoken.
So did you pick it up first, and then you were showing Keith and Nick?
Right. So how did it work? I think it was like, I had seen the video, like I was watching the videos, and then I went to Keith's house and I was like, yo, check this out. And then he was like, I have one. And I was like, what? And he's like, I think there's one in my basement.
Yeah.
Because he's like half Japanese. So he's like, I think there's one in my basement. And so we went to his basement and we found one. And I can't remember if it was like an Azora or TK or if it was some janky one, but there was one there. And basically, I remember us like competing over Big Cup. I actually never remember. I never remembered this until this moment right now. Like I remember us trying to get Big Cup, and I remember like the progression of Big Cup was so fast that I remember being like jealous because in literally a minute and a half or 2 minutes of him doing Big Cup, he was getting better at Big Cup than I was in my one try at it. So I was like, no, you like, all right, my turn, you know, and I'm done.
Because you guys only had the one,
you know. But then like you do Big Cup for like 120 seconds, and all of a sudden you're starting to get kind of good at Big Cup.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember us just like starting to give it back and forth right then.
Right.
And then I think I got one, but yeah, I remember it's like, I think that was like the first session, you know? Yeah.
Epic. That's sick, man. So you said most of the videos, like all the first few or whatever, were all kind of Facebook videos. Like you're saying, like kind of just getting them up there so you can kind of lay claim to stuff and kind of get your like accomplishments or your thoughts, I guess, on Kendama out there, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
So at what point, and like what kind of made you make the switch in your mind from like that kind of mentality of filming to being like, yo, I'm going to make a fucking video and like something that's like cinematic and like take some time to like take shots and things?
We were also skiing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in through the like visual literacy through skiing videos.
Yeah, so you guys were already making videos and stuff before you found Kendama.
Yeah. So we were making ski videos before, and I think and it was kind of starting to happen more or less simultaneously, because like the very first skiing videos I made were around the same time as like the start of the Kendama videos. So but like skiing obviously had progressed, so like 2008 was like the height, like the golden years of skiing, and so there was a lot of videos being made at the time and edits, you know, like same sort of thing, like legendary edits kind of thing. So
were they being put on YouTube or just for
those were
video?
So basically around that time there's still a skiing forum called New Schoolers, and that was basically where I lived for years. Was on this skiing forum, and I you know, found everything through that forum. You know, I like read about weed and shit for the first time on this forum, you know. But basically started watching these videos and started to, you know, and then Colin was making edits. Colin was the one who was making edits to music at the time. And there was that one Kendama USA original edit, the OG edit with all the bladers was out. Yeah. So there was enough fuel to start the fire. You know what I mean? Like there was just enough things out there already that there was already a little bit of visual literacy to ride on in a sense. And then what happened was like Kendama USA, they had their one pro team edit, and then there was Kendama HK. And then, so it made sense, since it was like a group of us playing, to start making like a communal edit.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we were at Zach Winter's house one day, and what happened was I had the idea to make a movie, because we were watching skiing. Like skiing at the time was doing yearly movies, like seasonal movies for like a crew, you know, and so we would watch those, and then it just made sense. We're a crew, we play kendama all the time. We should make a movie. So I remember this day at Zach's house late at night, coming to him or Keith or something and just being like, guys, we should make a movie. And then they were like, yeah, cool. I was like, yeah, we're gonna make the first kendama movie. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And so that was what prompted the start of like the WKT Facebook group page. And we had already on some school trips that Keith and I had went on, and with another friend of ours, Jacob Wrestler, who was also part of WKT, the Birdman, as we call him. Birdman. Like we had already shot in like a number of clips for an edit already. So then we made the Facebook page. And I think maybe Keith or I had made some videos per our own like personal Facebook pages. So then once the idea because I think it was like we had the idea for the movie first for Count Me In, what became Count Me In. But that's what prompted to like make the Facebook page. And then we kind of had that one edit that was just called the WKT edit was the name of it. But we had that on the back burner and put that out kind of first. But basically, what was funny was like, I remember for a long time deliberating over what to call ourselves, because like, it was like, what should we be called? You know? And we went through a name, like a few various different name tries. And I'm so glad that I had some sense at the time, because I just remember having the thought like, why don't we just be the location Kendama Team? Because that hadn't existed yet.
Yeah.
So because it was just Kendama USA Pro Team, and then there was the Kendama HK Crew, but there was no blank Kendama Team as a name. And I was like, this is so basic, so straightforward. There's no way this is ever going to go out of style. So let's just be Wenatchee Kendama Team. Boom, finalmente, done. Like, and so that was just the decision, was like, we're going to be Wenatchee Kendama Team. And then we had a friend make a little logo.
What were some of the bad names that
I'm trying to remember. But there's it's funny. The only thing I remember is that
the Saber-Tooth Slayers.
No, maybe I shouldn't say this, but like Chrome, I know that Chrome Kendama at one point, there was something like Lionheart Kendamas was like on the table.
Wow.
Before Chrome Kendama became Chrome.
Yeah.
Before other name.
Also before Lionhead, I hope.
Yeah. There was something like Lionheart or Red Flame or something like that. I don't remember the other names that we went through. Because it might have even just been decided that same night, you know. But
whoever got the most big cups first got to choose.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. So, and then Count Me In was made. I can't remember exactly when that we started that in 2010, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2010 when we started WKT.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
Because then I think it was like that summer, because we shot Count Me In over one summer. It's basically 3 months of just playing kendama really hard every day and shooting. And then did that. And then the next summer did Where We Are. So maybe that was, some 2010, 2011, something like that. But basically, like, we were in school at the time, so it was like, there's summer, we don't have anything to do, let's make a movie, you know. And that was both how like Count Me In and Where We Are happened, because like we had 3 months off, we're just chilling in the parking lots every day anyway, so let's just
we saw the message, buddy. Are you in? Count me in.
Dude. Yeah, no one's doing homework. Everyone's just fucking, Keith's doing flips on his trampoline.
Exactly.
That's so good. And I saw them in reverse for me. I watched Where We Are first, and then I found out that there was Count Me In. And it was just like,
how did you find these?
So through YouTube. So for me, like, I started playing kendama like 2008, and I was in Japan at the time, so it was a normal thing for people to know what kendama was. So I didn't really search around for it. And I don't know why it took me so long, but it was like seriously like a year or two passed before I even thought of like, let me search on YouTube Kendama. And it might have been like seeing somewhere like a Kendama USA, like there was a USA Kendama. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then that branched over to finding that one because, like you were saying, they were sponsoring you to make those videos, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw those, I thought you were the Kendama USA team because I didn't even know about Kendama USA team. I saw you guys first.
Right. Well, because where we are it had the Kendama USA logo on it.
Yes.
And they also posted it onto their like blog thing, which is like the most OG blog of all time, you know? So they were, that would be really confusing. I get that. Yeah.
But I remember just being so surprised because dude, for me, like hands down, that made laid down the tracks for what Kendama edits were going to be, like what people were going to think about when they're thinking about how to shoot it. They're going to fucking do slow-mo, or they're going to like get like, what is it called? Like a trolley of tracks to like pan over, or if they're going to match colors of their t-shirts with their Damas. Like there was so much that I feel that you put, maybe it was just because it was so long. So you put like everything you could in these videos that now everyone's like, that's what it's got to be. Of course, it's evolved into different stuff, but that was like almost the base of what Kendama edits or should be, I thought at the time. And I then like once I found out you were doing it, when I like, because again, right, Count Me In was after where we are. So you doing that little interview, sitting in your chair with your like sideways hat, all the Kendamas next to you on that table.
Oh my
and I'm
God,
like,
Joel.
this little kid I'm like, this little kid filmed this shit, like, because I was like, it is so well shot, so well edited, produced. I was blown away. When did you start that route? Because it seemed like you were more into, like, of course you were into both Kendama and cinematography, but like, I'm like, where do you get these nasty ass cameras to film with? And all this editing software to make
that's a good
such a beautiful edit, dude.
Thank you for all of that. I had, you know, I never have any idea how people respond to things or how it has an impression on someone. And so,
hey, dude, if you stay around on social network, you know, you'll be able to see those comments of how awesome it is.
Wow. Yeah, it's insane, man. It's interesting because a lot of, like, frankly, you know, that question's so interesting because now I work in film as a cinematographer. So, but still, especially with where we are, that's like one of my most proudest things ever. You know, even 10 years later.
That was pure passion.
And dude, pure passion, and with the homies. Yeah. You know, and just totally, I mean, as you said, it's totally pure, you know.
Traveling the world.
Yeah, man. It, like, I could keep going on and on, but because that was like when I was just starting to travel, just learning how to meet people who I'd never met before, you know, like it was legitimately setting the base for my own like human experience, how I would like meet people, how I would talk with people, how I would meet someone who I idolized, you know what I mean? Like doing these things. And because now I'm in such a different world and community, like it's crazy to have had that whole life of experiences of things like that, like looking up to someone you idolize and meeting them. And then it's like been much easier for me now in film to be able to do that because I'd already done that in Kendama. But man, so yeah, basically because it had already been kind of happening in skiing when it was all happening simultaneously, right? So it was like skiing and shooting skiing. I wasn't like, I could ski well, but I wasn't like, Keith was much better at skiing. And I realized like that wasn't going to be like, basically at the start, Keith and I were both competitive at that, but then he was a lot better. And then I was like, okay, I give up. I'm just going to shoot, you know, I'm better at shooting. Yeah. And so basically I started just shooting and filming. And then
that's when did you invest in cameras at that time? Or you're like, yo, mom, Christmas present. I don't want nothing. Just give me this new lens.
Yeah, literally, you know, and there's like a history of like this weird, it was just post mini DV. So it's just the time when like digital was just becoming a thing where you didn't have to use tape anymore.
Yeah.
So I like my you know, generation or whatever, it's just post HVX. Like I never used an HVX or had like a GL2. You know, it's like everything just after that time period, if we're talking cameras. But basically, yeah, I got like a camcorder, and you know, as you said, like just nerding out, looking at videos, found like a way to build my own slider at home. So, you know, I ordered this like 1 meter slider. It's actually just a type of like pipe, and then worked with my dad to drill holes into it, put these end caps on it, built a carriage for it, and then all of a sudden had a slider, you know?
Nice.
And there was one that like, I have to say there was one person in particular in the skiing world by the name of Will Start, who I really looked up to as a filmer. And he was mentoring me sort of online. Like we had never met before, but when I was in high school, we would talk all the time, and he would review my edits, and he was telling me, like he was critiquing my edits and giving me like, telling me about color, telling me like, I remember him telling me about like complementary color, like warm and cool tones. And he's like, man, you need to learn to color your clips. I had no idea what coloring was, you know?
Right.
And so, and he was shooting skiing, and he was always using a slider. Like, and his stuff a lot of times was like far away, long lens, sliding with trees in the foreground. And so a lot of that, like for me in particular, a lot of the early visual, literacy or like things that I was seeing was from edits of his, which were also like really saturated colors. Like all the skiers were wearing these really bright colors, walking in slow motion, things coming out behind trees and revealing people. And, you know, you would see the skiers just walking in slow motion up to the chairs. So there was already this like beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And so seeing that, I kind of just brought that into Kendama, and was like, okay, how do we create a beginning, middle, and end from someone walking up to the place that they're going to shoot, to them landing the trick, and then to an ending. And then how do we transition to that? Because like Will was already doing that in the skiing world. And then what was great at the time was like, I recognized that I had at the time opportunity in something that hadn't really grown yet. And it was really weird because like, obviously I was like 16 or whatever at the time, but I do remember thinking like, we can do whatever we want because this hasn't become a thing yet.
Right. So we can There's no rules. Movie.
Yeah. Which is so amazing because now like in my world, we're always like, no, this has been done already. You know, it was like, if I bring something from skiing, no one will ever know, you know, and we can make it our own. And obviously, you know, we did make it our own, but that Kendama in particular became for me the palette to grow with my work with cameras.
Yeah.
More than skiing, a lot more than skiing, because we would be shooting for 3 months straight, like every day. And so there was legitimately, especially with where we are, I remember in Count Me In, it was just very intuitive. Like, oh, we just, all right, just do it and set it up, do it. With where we are in particular, I remember really trying to push certain like cinematic techniques, you know, like things with the camera. Like I would put the camera on a glide cam and then shoot with a longer lens. And like, it's still like, this is so silly, but there's like 2 shots in where we are that for me at the time were so small, but like so important for me. And one of them is like, there's this shot where Hunter Bailey is just like posted up looking out. He's at his cabin and he's just looking out his cabin, and like the camera's kind of like coming around this thing and unveiling him. And then there's a shot that counters it the other way where there's his sky blue Azora on the railing, and then the camera comes out on the beach drop. It goes, and then it comes out and it's like a close up on just on the kendama, but it's like this long lens. The background's blurry.
Yeah. And
I remember that like that visual quality hadn't been seen like in kendama yet, and was something that like I remember just being like, you know, how do we keep doing this thing? Like that's really interesting. And it's hard because like it's hard to time. So, you know, I would only try and fit those little moments in like in between. And there's like another shot where it's so random, but basically it's just like the slow-mo shot of our friend Scott doing, I think he's just doing like an airplane or something, but it's with a pink Zora. And it's the same kind of thing where it's just like the camera's wrapping around his shoulder. And it's like, you just sort of like, you don't see the whole kendama. It's like, you see like a third of it, but his hand pulls through the frame. So like his hand goes through and you see the ball, but then his hand goes over the top of the frame, and then you see the string come up through, and then you see the kendama come up through. And
okay,
yeah. And I just remember, as it relates to like, you know, where my camera, you know, whatever went and where kendama was, I was like actively using where we are as like my main thing to just try stuff with the camera and to figure it out and to try slow-mo and whatever. And it was really, I mean, kendama became the thing where I cut my teeth for editing, which basically teaches you everything, because you see what's good, you see what's bad, you see how things work together or don't work together. So, you know, at the end of my kendama career, if you will, there was like 5, 6, like 30-minute plus long edits I had done, you know. So there was just like so much time like spent editing that was like really where I cut my teeth.
Dude, I can only imagine how much like raw footage you had to go through. All those B-rolls too.
Dude, yeah, because I remember for Count Me In, I think, or maybe it was Where We Are. I remember I can't find the record anywhere, but I remember trying to record like how much time I spent on the edit, and it was like 400 hours.
Yeah.
Editing. Something like that, yeah.
Were you the only one editing? Right? You didn't have anyone else helping?
Yeah, I was the only one editing, and I was terrified because it was because with Where We Are, no one had seen it until the premiere except me.
Whoa.
Not even Keith hadn't seen it.
Damn.
None of the WKT members had seen it. My parents hadn't seen it. I was just working in the dark on this like, you know, 45-minute long edit, and it was my baby, obviously. And and then we were just going to show it in the theater, you know, so we just showed it in this theater.
Was that your decision not to show anybody?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why. I would never do that now. But at the time, like, it was my decision. And I just remember, like, as it started, I just sank down as deep as I could into my chair. And I just went all the way back, and I was so terrified. And then the music started, and it was dead silent in the theater, and it sold out. So it was like 400 people there. It was dead silent in the theater, and it just goes, dun, 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 dun. And it was just totally quiet. And I had no idea if everyone just hated what was going on or if everyone loved it.
Yeah.
And then someone, like, as the graphics came up, it was still totally dead silent. And then someone came up on the screen. I think it was like maybe Nick's, like, I can't remember. Nick's maybe the first person that appears on the screen. And I remember just being like, I was down in my chair, and I just went like,
you started the first clap, the first clap.
just to break the silence, and then all of a sudden someone's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden everyone, like the whole theater, just started cheering, you know. And then it was like each time someone came onto the screen, everyone was going bananas. Like the whole 400 people in the theater, like just cheering like crazy. But at the start, there was no one.
Oh man, that's fucking hilarious.
Gold,
awesome.
Dude. You started it.
I don't think I've never told that, but that's how that happened.
But dude, I bet everyone loved it. Everyone right? All your homies, all your buddies. And it was probably amazing to see, especially on a theater. That was a big screen, right? It wasn't like someone's basement who had a projector.
No, dude, it was like a proper, theater, movie size screen.
And then with that music bumping that loud, come on, that must have been fucking so wonderful.
It was insane, bro. People it was crazy. People were what was so great, man. And I've never really. Well, I guess I've seen it. I haven't been to a lot of big Kendama events in a long time, but I remember at MKO, I remember there was some cheering going on for tricks and stuff. But yeah, it's so cool, man. When you have hundreds of people watching one video.
Yeah.
You just cheer for everything.
Yeah.
So it's anything, and it's just everyone's erupting, and just so stoked.
Hell yeah. Premieres
are
really
left that, and then we did this signing, and we had all these posters made, and then we all went onto the back of these tables and then signed all these posters.
Oh no!
Just hundreds of kids, and we were just on cloud nine.
Whoa, man!
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
That is definitely those edits, dude. Definitely, thank you so much for creating those, because not only did you show just ridiculous tricks. For me at the time, getting into Kendama, I was only a few JKA things, but not really, just from the people in my company that kind of knew about Kendama, just pull it up, spike. Someone taught me oh, you can hold the tama and the spike goes in. I was blown away. I was like, what the fuck? Because I was holding it most common grip the whole time.
Yeah.
But then to see the WKT edits and seeing the ridiculousness, seriously, dudes, when Keith doing triple lunar flips and stuff, I'm just no, super, so excited to see these things, but also just this, you were saying before, defying gravity, this cannot be. I'm just so amazed. I cannot do that, but to see other people do it. Showing the nasty tricks, the cinematography, but biggest thing of all, the fun that you guys had, that community, that companionship of buddies hanging out, getting all stoked on each other, doing these tricks, filming, working together to make this community. That was probably the best part about it. That's what I saw. We could see connecting with you and watching skiing videos. I'm sure that had the same feeling. Me growing up skateboarding, watching a team of skateboarders doing traveling together and stuff, and seeing that camaraderie. Yeah, that's the best part. That's almost what makes you stay hyped on whatever it is. In this case, Dama.
Totally. Yeah, there's something kind of unique, right? About okay. One person goes in front of the camera and there's only one person there.
Yeah.
But everyone's there.
Yeah.
And you're all pushing that person. No, bro, you got this, and I remember in whatever, I can't remember which movie it was, but Nick does double inward stilt flip on one foot.
Oh yes.
On this pole.
That was Count Me In.
Dude. That was
the best. You cut the music. I love that, dude. You're this is a big pinnacle point. Yeah, the zoom in of him just stepping on the shit. Cut the music and everyone's just quiet.
Right.
Does the trick.
When he did that, man, I mean, dude, we were what was so cool at that time, man, was things like that. When tricks like that would be landed, you had this hype because you knew it had never been done before on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
man.
so a trick like that would happen, and it was literally like setting a world record.
Yeah.
You know,
discovering a new species.
Right. And so then your friend would do it, and you would just explode because this thing just happened, and the camera was rolling. It didn't. You know? But oh man, yeah, that was crazy. And also, yeah, it is kind of beautiful as well, just like really pushing someone and like guiding, like you're trying to guide them a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, all right, you need a little more of this, a little more of this. All right, yeah, that's it. Go. Like, like I don't know, like, you know, like girls are getting tired, you know. But yeah, I mean, and a lot of times, like Keith and I, we would hike to the top of this mountain. Like we do this like 30-minute hike to this mountain top sort of thing in Wenatchee, and then we would shoot for hours there.
Right. Take your shirts off.
Know. Yeah, take our shirts off, shoot for hours. But and it was like, you know, it's like this for me on my side, it was like learning just to be invested like in someone, you know, because people, when they're in front of the camera, in front of someone else's camera, and you're shooting for hours, you start feeling so bad.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, you hate it. You're like,
every time you miss, you're like, sorry.
Like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You know? You know, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You want to go, you know, but then like being on the other side of the camera, being like, no, man, you got this.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Don't worry. It's digital. I'm not running out of tape or nothing. It's not film.
It's digital. Don't worry about it. I'm just getting a tan.
Right.
I'm just getting a tan.
So at that, were you using still a like a handy cam? Were you using a DSLR?
So Count Me In was like a handy cam. It was like a Panasonic camcorder. It was a Panasonic TM700.
Dude, how'd you get like that bokeh?
You gotta zoom in, bro. Wide open aperture.
That's so intense.
Yeah, and then that camera had a 60. I think it was even I might have still been interlaced, but it had like a 60 slow mo, you know. And then for where we are, I used a DSLR. I used a Canon 60D.
Okay.
Which so that was where the bokeh was.
The step up, yeah.
And like if you wanted to, it would be kind of interesting just to like, because I was making ski edits in the winter and Kendama edits in the summer, and you would see like the similar progression of just like the cameras and the looks, like both getting better at the same time. Right. And so it's just always like that. Like in the winter, I would just put my time into making ski videos and Kendama edits in the summer.
Hell yeah! And then here you are traveling around the world making videos for a living,
dude. Career.
It's wild. That's wild.
Fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It was hilarious when I went to that Dama event, and all of a sudden you hit me up, and I was in Japan. You're like, yo, are you in Japan? I'm like, yeah, of course I'm in Japan. Are you in Japan? What do you?
Yeah.
I should be asking you where you are, man. What the fuck? Wait, this must mean you're in Japan, and you just happen to be there shooting. Like, that's so sick.
Yeah, man, it's been really, really crazy. Just the path. You know?
Hell yeah. Well, I'm sure you've worked on a million things that like a lot of, especially the Kendama community, probably has no idea about. Is there anything that's like readily available that like people could check out and be like, yo, that's Matt Ballard's shit, like that we could like, I don't know, just to see or something that like the squad can hype for you or something like that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like obviously like the things I'm like attracted to in the film world, I you know, it's went every which direction, and
I can only imagine. Not unlike like you're talking about different facets of Kendama tricks. There's like different facets of film.
Exactly.
Different expressions.
You know, for example, like last fall, I was in Wenatchee for like 3 months. I took some time off, and I ended up teaching like 2 classes at like the tech center in Wenatchee on video. And cool. Like I was, at first I wanted to like show them everything that I thought was cool. And then I realized like once I started this kind of lecture, I realized that they just wanted to know who I had worked with, like what celebrity people I had worked with.
And that's it.
And that was like that was the coolest thing to them, you know?
Huh.
And I was like, oh yeah, well, like I worked with Migos, I worked with Khalid, I worked with Joji, like these different artists. And then they were, you know, like, what? You know? So yeah, I had like, but some of those videos I'm like they're not necessarily like my thing that I'm like most proud of. But
more like your work.
But I'm proud of that, like those experiences. But yeah, like working with some artists like that. But I think like if you go to my website, which is just matthewballard.com.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now it's like there's only 4 things on there. I like stripped it down to like nothing. but that would be like the work like artistically to me, which is the clearest, you know, thing of my vision or experience so far.
Cool. All the stuff you're stoked on.
Yeah. It's just like the most succinct kind of dilution of what I've done or what I'm proud of, you know.
Yeah, the things that you're sharing.
Yeah, sorry, that was kind of a vague answer, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say because, yeah, frankly, yeah. It's hard to get into.
Well, I can only imagine. It's just like when somebody asks you, like, what's the best trick you've ever done? You know, it's like, well, fuck, I don't know. I've done so many tricks. I'd have to you know, there's so many different ways to look at that. You're like young me sees this trick as
5 years. Yeah, exactly. Like this trick I did 5 years ago was cool, but now it's like not really cool anymore.
Yeah, now it's my everyday trick. Yeah, totally. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of music videos like that. And then also a lot of commercials like too. And a lot of it has just been learning to be comfortable with like big sets.
Yeah.
You know, which has just been such a learning process, taken a lot of time. I mean, I went to film school for 4 years, and then been working for maybe 3 years after that now. So it's like another just 7 years of just film grind. And I'm like now just at the place where I'm like starting to get, you know, pretty comfortable on big sets, you know. So we have like hundreds of people on set, lights on cranes, cameras on cranes, everything being operated remotely, like
cables everywhere.
Cables everywhere, 20 people on electric.
I don't know if I think we've talked about this, but I've done a bunch of like extra like background acting kind of shit. So like I've been on the set.
You've seen it.
And seeing that shit, it's like I can't imagine being the dude in charge. You must be just fucking stressed. Like someone's tripping on a cable over here. This dude who's like just the homeless dude, namely me, doesn't give a shit and is just like eating snacks and not doing what they're told. You know, like I'm not that big of an asshole, but there's people like that. You know that.
Man.
There's a lot to deal with.
And frankly, like I came into that world, like my generation was like the first generation that could come into that world being very young.
Yeah.
Because we had already been shooting. So like prior to me, you had to like work your way up the ladder. So you would work as like a camera assistant.
Yeah.
For like years before you could become a cinematographer. But then like I had already been making all these videos. Like
you just kind of fell into it.
And so then I just said like I'm a cinematographer because like once I was in film school I realized like I do know what I'm talking about, you know. And so then I just started like saying like I am a cinematographer, and then it just kind of, you know, started working. But exactly, it was like being on big sets or bigger, you know, big sets was like took a long time. And I'm like, of course it's still like you're still stressing out anyway, but like at the start I would be like a wreck, bro. I was like a mess going on to one of my own commercials. And at the start, I would like go and park my car somewhere, and I would just see trucks and trucks and trucks lined up, and just everyone walking around on headsets. And who are these hundreds of people, like, you know? And then I'm gonna tell everyone what to do, you know? And I was like 21. I was like so terrified. and then everyone kind of just like was looking at you as well, because as I said, it was like I was kind of this weird generation that could kind of slip in early.
Yeah.
So then people were just like, "Who is this kid?" You know, and I'm still young in the film world. I'm still like a baby. So
totally.
Yeah, it's been a learning process for sure.
That's
sick. So if people want to see your stuff, should they just search up your website? Should they check out Vimeo or your YouTube?
Yeah. Vimeo, my Vimeo is a good place. My Vimeo is a good place. That has like a pretty broad range of work. And then on my like Matt Ballard Instagram account that's kind of become my like dedicated film account in a way, where I sort of like a few years ago made the Ballard Chrome account as a kind of like dedicated Kendama account. Well, I don't really post on the Ballard. I only post like nostalgic shit on the Ballard Chrome one. Just like I never post any clips, but it's just like these like old videos or whatever. But there was a time, I mean, there was a weird transitionary time where I was still in school and I was still doing Kendama stuff. So I was flying to Hawaii on the weekends to go to these like Kendama events, but I was in film school telling everyone that like I'm a cinematographer. And then I'd be like, guys, I'm going to go for the weekend. And everyone would be like, where are you going? And I wouldn't tell them because
I'm on location filming, right?
I didn't want them to know that I had this whole other life of playing with ball and cup.
Oh, wow. Well, you're ashamed of it?
Well, I was at the time, I was at the time because I was like, I was just birthing into this like new identity as a cinematographer and wanted people to like take me seriously. And I was like 18, just like really impressionable and you really care like what people think about you at the time and you're kind of insecure. So when I went to film school, like I just plopped in and then everyone was saying like, who are you? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm a cinematographer. And like I needed to kind of gain people's trust, or at least so I thought. So it was that period, like towards the end of my like Kendama life, like around that time, if you will, and coming into the film world was like kind of very difficult to manage because it was just tough to manage because I had like kind of both of these identities and I would just like, be in one community and then leave that community and then go into the other community, and obviously like I love the Kendama community and it was actually harder for me to kind of get into the film community because it wasn't quite as kind, like in a way, Kendama is like, why would you not just love everyone,
Yeah.
But in film, there's kind of so much competition and it's a business. And so
a lot of money, involved.
So it was difficult to figure out, and just like over time, how to bring those things together and to reconcile like all of it into one. Still something that I'm like still figuring out, It's like I just like go to Japan on a job for a commercial, but then I'll just like pop it. Then I'm like, yo guys, peace. I'm gonna go do this thing,
but
depending on the vibe. I'll be like those Japan crews I knew. I told them about Kendama and they thought it was the coolest thing ever. I went to meet these Kendama people. I'm like, what? That's so cool.
But you still play enough to be able to slam that 10 cup, the fucking Akimoto.
Oh yeah. Dude, that was first key, bro.
Yeah, what didn't I?
That's
film
intense.
That? Yeah.
Someone filmed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did film it.
You, right?
It was me. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
That was really fun.
That was a good time.
Yeah. There's only a few things you can really experience, in Japan, and really, things that are way out there but acceptable. So one of the biggest ones, I know, Matt, you were a part of you went to an idol show, a Japanese idol show.
Dude, how do you know this?
How was that?
Dude, how do you know about this? This is crazy. Yeah. Dude, that is really, really interesting.
Intense.
So basically in Japan, I'll just explain it for the viewers.
Yeah.
In Japan, there's this thing called Underground Idol, which is basically this whole like you jump in because you know way more about this than I do, but like there's this whole kind of subculture of people becoming really invested and obsessed in like new artists, basically, right? And so it's kind of like they're not massively blown up yet, but they have this like really strange, intense followings of really hardcore dedicated fans who are like committed to one or two or a small select few of like artists. And yeah, they like support them, buy their merch, go really hard. And so EG, yeah, actually, so I got invited to this show because EG was going to do a performance with this underground idol, these three girls. They're called Mellow Mellow, I think.
Mellow Mellow.
Mellow Mellow.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny because it actually was happening in the Love Hotel district. And I remember
In Shibuya.
Shibuya. And I remember going. I had actually like been or seen this exact like place before. And I remember because anyway, yeah, I went there and we went to the show.
It was in the Love District, and I kind of knew the area because I've been. Well,
yeah,
okay,
I know.
So
that's how it was starting to sound. Anyway,
so good.
You know, you're in Tokyo. Of course, you go to see these things. So
Awesome.
But what was I saying? So it was interesting because I knew it was like these three girls, and I expect like we were gonna go there beforehand. And you know, just to see EG while he was like warming up and stuff.
Yeah.
And so there was no one there at the start, and I'm expecting like all these young girls to come, you know, and all these young girls to be like stoked for this, you know, young girl pop group. But then once it finally like started, or once like people started coming in, it was just all these like 40-year-old men, 50-year-old men. And I was like so confused, and I was asking Yuka. I was like, "Who are there like girls coming, or is it just dudes, like these old dudes?" She was like, "No, this is it. This is their fans." Yeah. I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, these are like the fans." So there was like, you know, 200 guys between the age of probably like 25 and 60. But a lot around like late 30s, 40s,
middle age kind of thing.
Yeah, middle age guys. And you know, the girls come out, and then they start their songs, and then the guys they start their songs, so they're doing their cute thing up on stage like this, yeah. And then all of a sudden, every guy there knows every song, and all the guys start singing the songs along, and they're all doing these hand motions, you know, all together, like, and
oh shit thing.
And I'm just like looking around like, what's going on? And I'm looking at Yuka like big eyes, and she's just like,
wait, Yuka didn't know the dances? She wasn't in there dancing?
No.
Oh, Yuka.
Her and I were in the back. Maybe she did, and she just wasn't.
She probably just didn't want you to see she was embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. And so then it was cool because basically halfway through, one of the girls, Hina, did a thing with EG. So they had choreographed a show together. And then they did like
Kendama show, everybody. Kendama show.
Kendama show. 2 or 3 tracks. Like they did 2 or 3 tracks where they were doing a Kendama show together, which was really cool. And then that's pretty much it. And like, of course, everyone was like really stoked that one of the pop girls was like playing the Kendama and doing these like ribbon tricks and stuff. And but yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, I had no idea about this whole cultural phenomenon, you know.
Yeah. And I've seen a little bit of it too. It's weird.
It's the wild,
idol
man.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, like we could talk about that for a long time, I'm sure, because
it definitely could.
Well, it's so like if you just talk about it or think about it, like what that means about the culture and how people are, and
yes,
I mean, because like the director who I was working with at the time is like really into trying to understand like why people are the way that they are, and why do people in Japan, like, why are they so obsessed of working so hard and then just get completely shit-faced? on the weekend, like, passed out drunk, and how is this like, and how is this acceptable? Like
right.
Or like what is this intense dedication to, the greater people, and just being someone who like fulfills a task given to you, where your mind is like encouraged to conform to whatever the viewpoint of the higher thing is, and everyone goes in that one direction and does it, and grinds their face off and then gets shit faced on the weekend. Like, what? That's so not how the West is. The West is like, promotes create your own individual identity and ideas of things, rebel against everything. You're an individual, which is like the opposite. And so like, you could talk about what is this underground idol? How does this fit into that? Why? Like, there's a reason, and I don't know. I could try and think about it and figure it out, but like, obviously there's a reason that those things like fit together. And I think I would think so.
Yeah. Totally. There's so many different things about Japan. There's just like, this is like the land of the future, or it's just like a fantasy world, or it's a kids amusement park. Right. Even for grown-ups, because everyone's still kids.
I was going to say an adult amusement park, but for grown-ups, you said it.
Yeah. So it is really intense. And I wanted to hear your take on it, because Yuka invited me to that idol show, because she knows I'm into idols, and there are... Okay. And I was like, I have my family. I was like, I can't go into Tokyo for that one night. It's kind of late, blah, blah, blah. It was like also not a weekend or something. I forgot exactly. But then, after the fact... So
you're into it.
Yeah.
You know about all, like
I know. What you described, that's why I wanted to hear about it, because what you described was so on point. Because I love concerts. I'm a huge like metalhead, hardcore kid. So the energy that is at like a metal show is, I feel like it was such a similar thing when I was going to see these idols, but it's like, it's a different world, but there are so many situations that are identical.
Right.
But of course, like you're saying, like it might be a little creepy, especially for a lot of Westerners will see it as like just being creepy, like perverted, because you think like these idol girls are like young, and then there's these 60-year-old dudes who are watching. You're like, come on. But just to make it clear for everyone, there are a few idol shows that I've been to where they have sections that are like girls only, like sections in the venue. So girls can go there and not feel kind of gross, because I guess there are fucking gross dudes there. But when I first went, and seeing the chanting and the dancing that goes on, like in sync, that everybody knows, that's a real like eye opener. When you're like, holy, like when I go to a hardcore show, everyone's fucking moshing. They're like, I guess there's at certain points where everyone's, okay, this is the breakdown where everyone's gonna mosh. Fucking slam dance.
But moshing isn't fucking choreographed. You're not fucking all putting
exactly, dude.
You can run and tackle it, dude, but that's different than putting your arm up at the same time, putting your other arm up at the same time.
Yes. So it is such an interesting thing, but I've been in it, for a bit. But so I'm sure, Matt, when you were just plopped into the middle of this world,
it was a crazy, tsunami of things. Because
new things.
I was kind of trying to take. I was sort of trying to take it in as an experience, but
kind of enjoy it.
but I was also just been on set where I'm so intellectual about. I have to be so intellectual and pragmatic about everything. So I just come to this thing, that could just be this enjoy, and I'm just like, what does this say about the culture? If we go back hundreds of years, how did we come to this point where we could all be in unison dancing together with the same song, And at the time I was trying to just hang in there because I was standing the whole time, and it was just really overwhelming, because obviously I couldn't understand any of the Japanese. So it was quite a long show, considering that I couldn't understand all of it. So I was just ended up kind of sitting down going into this embryo position just to kind of get through it. But I think there's something really interesting to be said about Japanese culture. Like they're not really so self-conscious, you know. I think in the West, especially in the US, so much self-consciousness and insecurity and around being, you know, how people perceive you. And it's like this thing where, okay, you just get shit-faced. Everyone gets shit-faced on the weekends, or you just go to this thing and you're just there and you just, you know, be as happy and outside of yourself.
Totally.
There's no judgment, you know.
Or just be fully inside yourself and not worry
about
it.
Right? The full opposite. So, that's like, it's like almost like it's a child's mentality in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like enjoy the
pure,
moment.
Right?
It's
like it's uninhibited. It's like it's just a natural form.
Yeah. But man, like, we don't need to. I only bring this up. We could go into a whole like philosophical, spiritual conversation on it. But you know, there's so much in spirituality about like when you get to a particular place, it's just like you go back to the beginning. It's as if you're just at the beginning. It's as if you're just a child again.
Yeah.
You know, and like you start out, whether it's just in Kendama, where you just do things because you are just doing them, and then you start to get like once you start looking around and seeing everything outside of you, then you start to try and like mimic other people, and you start to understand where you are, and you start to kind of overthink things. But then once you've mastered anything, you don't have to think about it anymore. And then you're not thinking again, and then you're just simply being again.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about, because I feel like in Japan, somehow inhibiting all that, where there's a part of it that's just pure in its nature from the essence of it, and maybe it hasn't necessarily like gone out and come back kind of thing, but it just is that thing. But also in their spiritual like history, like I'm going into this because I've just been like studying Zen Buddhism a lot recently, and there is that return, you know, that's always been reflected in like a lot of the arts, like through
it's
Zen
the
Buddhism.
Ouroboros, man, the snake eating its own tail. It's just everything comes around, like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
The cycles of life and death.
And Rod, that was kind of what, you know, that's kind of what I was saying earlier before the call, where I was saying like, oh, it's so nice to have this little Kendama session for myself today, because I had no care at all about doing the hardest thing or being anything. And I could just do whatever I wanted. And I don't, you know, and it, and like, it just came, I was like back at day one, and it was like, there's so much freedom there, you know. I think that's like the kind of freedom we're talking about, that was like reflected in everyone just being free, you know.
Just being in it with as is, and not trying to influence it in a certain direction or like feel the influence of it, but just like letting it be what it is and just being around for the ride kind of thing, right?
It's interesting because I was like, I was reading this morning about how the body how the body works when you're free of thought, like, and how you're, you know, essentially like the mind and body become one once you've mastered something. And you don't have to, you know, and they talk, like, I'm reading this book and talk about like swordsmanship and the sword like master, like the samurai. And like
Musashi?
in training,
the book of five, the sword, book of five swords, five rings, book of five rings.
No,
Are you reading? Oh, dude,
no,
if you want to get in Bushido, you should pick up that one. Miyamoto Musashi, Book of Five Rings.
Oh, dude, I will for sure. It's so fascinating to me. And it's like, there's a strong emphasis on becoming free of thought, you know, because if you think, then you lose time. So you have to train in a way that like everything is completely intuitive, and that you react just instantaneously with no thought, just because your mind and body are one.
Yes.
And like, it's interesting because I work so much in the thought, like I work a lot with like the world of filming is like me evaluating every possibility and having to make rational decisions about taking everything into account. Whereas like kendama, it's needs to be totally focused on one single point, you know? And so I found myself today really having to acknowledge that, you know, and I was like, I need to just focus on this and not think about anything else. And just like focus on this one thing that I'm doing. And I just need to, like basically I posted this clip today and I posted it because there was this point, where it was basically like this, there's like this trick from here where I'm like bouncing the katama on my fingers to like a flip, and then the tama like, or the ken puts around like
the display. We call that one the display.
The display to like flip in, you know.
Yeah, and then flip in the airplane.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And there was like I was doing this part of it before where it was like 2-turn airplane, and then to like insta this move, which I don't know if that really has.
I don't know what to call that either. I watched that. I watched this earlier, though, right before we started the call. Yeah. I liked that one. That's
in a weird way.
Classic one.
I forgot what it's called. It's a something rocket in Japanese. I forgot exactly what the name is, but something rocket.
Yeah, like it's like essentially like the not the pedestal, the what did I just call it? The display. But then you like hook your thumb on like the string so that the can fall sideways with the tama still on the spike, but
you're holding the base cup,
the string with your thumb.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, anti-gravity White Mugen style from Matt Ballard.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude. Little side note, Matt, you taught me that at Kendama World Cup. I think we had a Ken game. And you pulled out that trick where you did you go for like a swing spike, but you wrap it around your index finger once, spike it, and then tip it over.
Yeah, that's the other version.
And I was just like, what is that? I learned that shit from you.
I remember that now. Wow, that's amazing.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Man, I just realized that you're holding a White Mugen, which so we talked to Keith very recently, and he told a story about, I believe, said White Mugen that's in your hand.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Is this the one that came from Akimoto-san?
Yeah, man.
Nice.
It's my prized possession, bro.
Hell yeah.
Just out of like everything I own, this is like,
that's the one.
This is the one, you know.
Burn the cameras, huck them out the window.
Oh, right. Dude, yeah.
Get rid of all your pro mods, whatever.
Everything else can be replaced, man. But this.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's so beautiful about kendama. It's like all the sweat in there is yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the way that the base cup looks that way because of how you play. You know,
totally. But there's something to say about wood, right? Just in general, it's like every piece is so different in and of itself. So like that alone makes a kendama special before your hands even get on it. And then like you're saying, like you add your own little mojo or whatever the hell you want to call it into it.
Hey,
I mean, like. And the white was always my dream because of Shimadera.
Yeah, dude.
You know, and that was like he was my like, you know, idol, and so he was everything.
He was your Japanese idol.
There's a joke in there somewhere about the roles being reversed. How he's the middle-aged man.
Exactly.
I couldn't put one together, but there's a joke in there somewhere.
Truly.
Oh shit!
Yeah, man. And then so I'll have to listen to Keith's because I want to hear that from his side. But that was one of the best gifts I ever received.
Yeah.
And it's still just like to me, it just looks the best.
Mm-hmm. Just that plain white.
But like there's something about having a Japanese kendama just in a space to me that just feels so right. You know, it's because it's like all the Western kendamas are just so flashy and like intense and so
I see what you're saying.
So overly visual.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like you can see my room is like very minimal, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like if I have a kendama out, like if this one is sitting there, it just looks so good. You know?
Totally, I can see what you mean.
Yeah.
When we were talking with Keith, he let us, we went back and talked there's so much more we should have talked about, but we went here and there. He was letting us know, you know, for the WKT, you were pretty much the pinnacle. You were the one that was the driving force behind it, keeping everyone stoked on it, making the videos and really playing Kendama. But now, you know, you're taking your career is important and you're really diving into that. There are a few times that you play Kendama. Do you still play Kendama as often? We know, you know, a lot of people have seen from the Wenatchee Kendama team, like who do you think is the one that is still in it the most?
Keith's definitely made the strongest resurgence into it, you know, hands down. Like, you know, I think that there's something to be said about, you know, there's this theme, especially between Keith and I, about how him and I have gotten into things. You know, he's just so exceptionally talented at being really good at things. Like, so good. You know, it was always, like, we always got into competition with everything, and he was always just better than I was at, like, skiing or Kendama too, for sure. And so, but then I always got into it, like, in my own way, and had my own, like, appreciation of it, or way of you know, doing it or being with it. And even when I got onto Chrome, we were having conversations about, like, yeah, you know, they were like, we love you as a player, but we also love your videos. You know, we want the whole package, you know. And at the time I was actually a little bothered by that, because I wanted to be a good kendama player, you know. Like, I wanted, like at the time I was like, yeah, no, I know I can do videos, but I want to be a good kendama player, you know. But now it's funny, because now I'm kind of the reverse in film. I'm like, I don't want to just be hired because I know what to do with the camera. I want to be hired because of the whole package, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But I say that because with kendama, like, I still like to show up at events, you know, and I still love, like, if I'm around, or it's not, and like even the last few years, I went to a few just specifically to go, but I'm not playing as much. Although after today, actually, because I just had this little, like, session today, I feel like it kind of opened my eye to what it could be for me now, in the sense of playing specifically.
Where it could fit in your personality now.
Sure. Like, you know, dude, honestly, when I stopped, it was kind of weird, man, because when I stopped playing, or like started to slow down or whatever, or stopped making edits, it was like the gameplay was getting so intense and so high. So it was starting to become this, like, spin to win thing. But I was actually wanting to, like, go in this other direction, where I just wanted things to start to be more, like, rhythmic and more about the body. And, like, you don't actually, like, frankly, you don't really see this in my edits, because I stopped making edits at that time, because I didn't, like, my idea of having things be more about the body, like, it wasn't mature enough. Like, I was still trying to explore it, and I couldn't really, like, figure it out yet. But I was always kind of doing it, like, when I was at events or just playing kendama. And that was all, of course, why I became so attracted to EG, because EG had taken this movement of the body in a direction of his own, and that's why I became so fascinated by him, because I was just starting to, like, taste that in terms of just pure kendama play, and that's why I was like, wow, he's done this, you know. And so it was interesting, because around when I kind of stopped making edits, I started to explore this other kind of playing, and that would have been 2015. Around 2015, I guess. And in those, like, 5 years since, especially, I mean, I don't really keep very close tab, but especially within, like, the last 2 years or something, it's been also going in this really interesting kind of direction, where there's some players I see who are like so rhythmic and kind of like unconventional and use like, you know, are playing more with this visual phenomenon of kendama, you know, doing tricks that look like they just look a particular way. It's not just about doing the most flips or the most technical, but there's guys now who are like doing things in a way where it's like flipping it around, snap, and then it just snaps together all of a sudden. And you're like, whoa,
yeah,
you know? And that was always what I thought was like the coolest thing. And that didn't really happen until more recently. So just in terms of kendama play, like that was, I don't know, I was like kind of trying to get into that, but then it wasn't really happening. And I was also going into putting time into film, and then I kind of stopped playing more or less. But now it's been interesting because when I check in, you know, on the kendama scene on Instagram, I'm just seeing some really creative playing going on that you feel like you're not really watching kendama, you're watching some kind of, you know, you're watching a dance basically.
Dude, the game has changed, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so like obviously the taps have become infinite, literally, but there's also this other kind of play where there's so much stuff going on with the string and crazy like stalls in a way that all of a sudden something just comes together, and doing more of this like, you know, you flip it this way and you hit it, and then all of a sudden it just tumbles back onto itself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool. And I really like identify with that. So, and I was kind of just like messing around with a little bit more of that today, just like being more in tune with how my body's moving, you know, and like, and I was even kind of just taking it back to like watching Shimadera, you know, and getting into this particular place of like focus and the way that he would move his body, you know, like when he starts to spacewalk, he's like, you know what I mean? Like he's
I know what you mean. Yeah, he's got that little
like
wiggle,
here,
right?
That first little, here, you know, it starts here, and then, and then it's like full arm extension this way, but like you don't. The tama goes past the focal point of like the ken. Like he could extend his hand up further, but he doesn't. And the tama goes just past. So there's this tension right there. And then the tension becomes back with the axis of the arm before he tosses it. And then the toss stays low. Like it doesn't go up all high and around.
No, it's a quick, tight little.
So there's this point of like, you know, like that kind of thing, as opposed to, you know, I mean,
I feel like it has to do with the string length as well.
Yes,
for sure. You know, all that. I love that
motion.
I feel you. That little motion. That's such an old school thing. Like the old Japanese, like JKA skis, like all those dudes. The first time you'd ever see them do moon circles and shit, or like spacewalks or whatever, they're like got that little hip wiggle. Kind of swinging back and forth for a second, and then they get it going. Right.
Or like before, like one turn airplane or something, they just like hold it. They like snap the beat out just for a second, hold it, just like focus, and then let it go. Like, you know,
man. Dude, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And it was like the Chrome guys who all the Danish players. I mean, they had their own physicality. You know, really had their own physicality of the way that they played kendama, which for sure has, you know, brought in a whole flavor into everything that kendama is 100%. Now. And I remember like hanging out with them, and they would do this really funny. It was like Matthias and their shooter friend Emil Boda. They would do this. It was kind of a joke, but it was actually really amazing. I was like just so excited about it. They would do this thing where they would do, let me think, is it 3 or 4 moon circles? So basically you would do like 3 moon circles in a row, and the first moon circle would be like Japanese style. So you would do it, you know, like all tight.
Get the hips wiggling.
Like you do it like all tight like this, you know, and then just, I have this thing right above my head, so I don't want to like, I don't want to smash it, but like tight moon circle. And then you would go big moon circle where like the ball would be on the outside, like your arms fully extended, and the moon circle would be like massive, and then they grab it again, and then go sideways moon circle, and then flip it this way, and then like horizontal moon circle over the head, and the Dhamma comes just over the top of your head when you grab the Ken in the spike. And there was this like idea, you're just doing three, like it's not the same as like you do three moon circles. Like, you do three moon circles, but in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I thought that was like that was like the first time I saw anyone who was like who was, you know, like just experimenting with just the idea of physicality, and that was why I loved their style like the most.
Man, sure. Shout out the Denmark homies, man. Do you remember, speaking of Emil, dude, there was that one night where you and me were sleeping on the floor of the Chrome shop in Denmark, and we went out, we were like fucking climbing rooftops and shit. Do you remember that?
Nope.
No, I think you did that.
I might have done that with...
You did that like with Keith or something.
Oh, I was going to say it might have been with Keith, honestly, yeah.
Oh.
No, because I remember I came like right out. I can't remember what happened. I think I came right after because I remember you guys telling me that you guys had done that.
Yeah, I'm so mad. Like, I thought you were there. I was like fucking so hyped to talk about it. God damn it.
That's okay. Right. No, but I also had my own like weird adventures with Emil where we were like biking through the city like super fast, and then it was really funny. But
hell yeah, Emil's
but I was thinking, was Rod there on that one?
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all the adventures, man. We're always on some adventure.
Everything,
man. I love the Danes, man.
Oh, dude, such homies, all of them. We got to get some more of those Danes. Well, more. We got to get.
We got to get some of them. Here. Yeah, dude, getting these different multiple time zones of the world.
I think we all know who we got to get in here is Big Boy Balf.
Cheesy Balf.
That's who everybody wants to hear from. Is get Big Boy Balf in here. Well, I'll make the call. We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen. Dudes, we've been on the grind 2 hours, going so deep, getting philosophical, talking about music and different types of play and cinematography. We're gonna wind it down with a Q&A sesh, dudes.
Oh yeah.
So
let's get it.
Yeah. How did you pick up a Kendama 41 minutes later?
Yeah. This is what we do on the Nerds, right? And of course, there's always room for maybe a part 2 Ballard. Who knows in the future?
There's always more stories.
Totally. So we have a few questions from our Patreons. Thanks to everyone who's supporting there, as well as a few from Instagram that I posted just before this session. But one that I want to quickly touch upon is one that connects to our talks with Keith. He mentioned quickly that when there was the Kendama USA spot video contest of picking up a player there, that it was like him and you also wanted to, like, a spot, but he feels that you kind of stepped out to allow him to take that spot. Was that the case?
That's crazy.
Where you had a hookup with Chrome that you were looking at beforehand, so you're like, I'll pass on this? Or you were just like, Keith's the homie, I'm going to let him have it?
Yeah, interesting. Damn, that's a good question. Yeah, I think that that's right. I think that did kind of happen.
It's like WKT style. You're the only one with the green Uzo. He's the only one going for Kusa.
It's like, all right.
No, it was. Yeah, there was definitely something about that, and I think that did happen. Basically, the thing was, I was talking with Tokyo for a while before that, and I wanted to tell this funny story about that. I don't know if we have the time for, but I was talking with those guys, and then we were going to meet, or I can't remember if we had planned to meet, but yeah, basically I thought about the Kendama DK, like somehow going in that direction. And yeah, Keith was going like Ken USA, and I remember I kind of was like wanting to do it or something. It's kind of, I can't really remember, but I think that there was a moment where it was like, I'm gonna let him do that, and then I'm just going to focus on this other thing that might like pan out.
Yeah.
Because basically it's funny. We joke about it now, but like originally Sweets had offered me a spot on his team.
Oh.
Forming the first Sweets Pro team.
Whoa.
And then I told him, yo, bro, I don't know. Yeah, I need you to like, if you're making, because they, I get this email from Sweets saying we're making the first American Kendama. And I was like, well, if I'm going to like be on your team and if I'm going to play your Kendama, I need to like test your Kendama. And so then like he had sent me a Kendama and I was like, I can't play this, bro. And so, it's so
all
silly.
right.
It was so silly. But basically I was like, this Kendama isn't very good. I can't play it. I'm sorry. And so I said like, no, man, I can't be like sponsored by you. And it was just so hilarious because like there wasn't this thing where Kendamas are remade every 6 months now, It was the first ever American production of a Kendama. So I think that I say that because I think by that time there were already those kind of like sponsor vibes on the table already.
Yeah.
So I think because I think that had already happened with Sweets. And so then when the Ken USA thing was coming around, it was like, okay, maybe this could be the move. But then I said no, and then went with kind of Chrome.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Kendama DK.
It's hard to remember that, but I love that.
All right, well, let's hear that funny story quickly.
Oh man, I was just thinking in preparation for this about like really funny like backstories, and I just remember when I was first talking with Tokyo, I was in high school, and I remember we would talk over Facebook Messenger, and so I was gonna say like to me second best edit of all time is Tokyo's Terra entry.
That's a good one.
This to me is like 1 and 2 are those two edits. Kendama HK edit 2 part 1 and Tokyo's Terra entry. And so I thought that was like, the greatest thing ever. And so him and I, like, we started talking on Facebook Messenger. And I just remember in this one time, I thought it was so cool that I was talking to someone in Denmark. It's crazy middle nowhere place at the time. And I was I remember being in class texting with him. And I remember being like, yeah, bro, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going tomorrow to India to meditate at an ashram for 2 weeks. I was like, what?
That's some torqued
Excuse me?
Shit.
and I'm like, dude, I was like 16, bro. Like, I'm like sitting in my, like, literally sitting in class, like texting, looking down, and this person, we're talking about whatever, social studies, and like this dude is like, yeah, I'm this Danish guy and I'm going to go meditate in an ashram in India for a few weeks. And I'm like, whatever this is, like, I need to be a part of this. I just remember that was like my first impression of him. Like that's the first thing I remember him telling me that. And I was like, what in the world?
That's awesome.
That's a good one. Dude. Well, nice. Man, next time when we do have Tokyo on, we're gonna have to ask him about how that meditation session was.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's done it a lot of times.
Yeah, he does that a lot. He does a lot of meditation stuff.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Hell yeah.
All right. So let's get into these questions, boys. Okay, so from our Patreons, again, everyone, if you are not on supporting the kendertainment damanerds through Patreon, it's a place you can go and definitely get a locked spot for these questions that we ask all of these Kendama homies. And exclusive. One of the perks to supporting. Thank you, everyone. So first off, we have Nick Dodenhoff. He says, wow, definitely got a lot of questions for Ballard. He actually has them listed. What we got? 3 in total. 1, best memory from filming with the WKT, those movies. 2, any fun pre-post Dhamma Fest stories. 3, if you could make a whole Dhamma film for a player today, currently, who would be and why? I have so many more. Blah blah blah. Let's start with that first one. These are gonna go deep. We're gonna go another fucking hour. Okay, so here we go. Best memory from filming with the WKT.
Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, gotta try and keep these not 45-minute long answers.
Put a time limit on you. 1 minute, go.
Yo, hold on. I just need a second to think. There was some. I feel like certain banger tricks were cool in the films, but there was this time period. I think it was post Where We Are, where we started to make all of these like edits that were like oranges and WKT spring edit, and we were sort of like we were just making edits like all the time. And it was just our way of hanging. And whatever we did, like, we were just shooting it together. And it was this really beautiful, like, this thoughtless, like, beautiful time where we were just totally enjoying each other's, like, company and whatever we were doing. And, it was like we would go skiing. And then we come down from the mountain. We're still in all of our ski garb. Go to Taco Bell. And then get some Taco Bell, and then just go. And then, like, I would set up the camera somewhere, and then, like, Keith and Jacob are, like, doing a trick there, and they have their, like, Taco Bell Baja Blast, like, beside them. And then I'm in the back drinking my Baja Blast, and we were just, like, vibing, and it was just so effortless. And there was, this little period of time that I remember, like, feel like. Because the premiere of Where We Are was for sure like the major highlight, but I think and we already spoke about that. But in terms of filming, I just remember it was like those times somehow always revolved around Taco Bell.
Everyone loves Taco Bell, man.
There's like that part where it's like he keeps going into because Taco Bell used to be kind of the hang, and so everything would just revolve around Taco Bell. And actually, the first time like Alex and Kristen came to Wenatchee, we took them to Taco Bell, and we were like, yeah, this is a thing. And I don't think Kristen hadn't been before, and she was like, what do I order? And I was like, you gotta order this and that, you gotta get a Baja Blast, Regina, blah blah blah. And it was just all our experiences somehow revolved around Taco Bell.
I mean, it made its way into the edits as well.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. It was just there. But yeah, that's what comes to mind.
There you go.
There's a better answer somewhere.
Next one. Any fun pre/post Dhamma Fest stories?
I shot, well, most of them. I was there shooting all of it. So, yeah, it's a bit of a blur. I feel like I have more vivid memories from like KG Roots tour, which was also around the same time because I shot the KG Roots Tour 2013 video as well. And so there was like more, I remember there was a lot more like kind of partying and funny like stories going on around that time. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to remember like really particular moments. No, frankly, it's like I was always shooting, so
you're focused. Yeah,
I was always just like kind of there, like doing my thing, and at the time I was kind of like young and not like fully partying with everyone, so I kind of just took it upon myself to like be there in my own way. So I was kind of like doing it with the camera, but I was also not. Maybe I was like sober, but so that I should remember things better. but you know, well, I didn't say it because it's in the video, so that's why it's hard. But at Dhamma Fest, there was like when Jord did this massive airplane 3 stories up, where he had like was it a bottle or a can or just a big ass Dhamma? And then
I think it was a beer bottle.
I think it was a beer bottle somehow, and then like this massive like 30-foot long string that went like 3 stories down.
That thing was so fun.
Like, and he like yanked, like we were going around passing this thing, so everyone was like trying to do it
all the way up to the space lab.
Right. And then oh no, because I think it was with a ball, because I think Jordan went to like Lighthouse or something.
It was definitely tied. Like there was a Ken on one and a Tom on the other. I seem to remember somebody holding a beer bottle though and like spiking a beer bottle.
Yeah, me too. But I remember like it would only be like it would be Jord, of course, who would be the one to like lace it, like something like that. It's such a Jord thing to do that.
He would.
That's what I got.
All right, nice. The next one's heavy. This is a good one. If you could make a whole Dama film, 30 minutes minimum, for a player today, who would it be and why? We know you've done the past. You did Easy back in the day. You also made that awesome little doc about what was his name? The Kendama Sensei.
Imada Hiroshi.
Yeah.
Imada-san.
Right. So those were awesome, but yeah.
Yeah, would you like keep it old school? Keep to one of your like original kind of influences, like idols for like that we were talking about, or would you kind of take it a new direction, find one of these new young like Jacob Lowe or one of these like young kids that it's like doing new things that nobody's like the same things we're talking about before, like the new tricks, but like progressing.
That's a good question. It's funny because I feel like I want to say that, I'll go do something with some young person who's doing something really interesting, but I don't really follow that scene. So like, if I were to actually do it and just where I am, I would probably go to some like
where we are.
I would go to where we are. I would take it into the kind of, into the OG like realm, and probably I would kind of explore, these ideas of what we're talking about beforehand. Like, especially in the last 2 years, just thought a lot about if you really look at Japanese thought, Eastern thought, and how it's like reflected in the Kendama. Like that's really interesting to me. So I would probably I would maybe just do it with like Shimadera,
There you go. Yeah.
And just like see.
I'd watch that.
Like I would either do it with maybe like him, or I mean, I feel like the thing is like when you make this might sound kind of cliche, but when you make films, you make things like real films that are important to you. You make them about things which are close to you. So I wouldn't really go and make something that was like someone who just was like a really great kendama player. Like I would probably make it on like Tokyo.
I see what you're saying. Something more personal.
Because that would be like, and him as a kendama player, as I said, like to me, I mean, both of those edits for me compete like as top 2, but I have to say Tokyo's second because Kendama HK came first. But like Tokyo's Terra edit, stylistically to me was like so game changing to me. Like play wise, look wise, his personality. And obviously it was just so intuitive, and like it just happened because that's how they were doing things and that's how they were hanging and whatever.
Dude, nothing can beat that smile.
Dude, you can't beat a torqued smile. You can't, bro. You just can't.
Like at the end, you're just like after all this like gangster shit you just seen on a kendama, and then you just him just smiling, this rando on the street. It just sends you into this whole like world of who is this person. And before he was in kendama, like they were all they were like doing a lot of graffiti and in this world, and he's always been like involved in music and design, and like there's so much to me. I mean, my experience with Danish culture and what I've seen is so like you can see it in the Danish kendama play. And so I would definitely, that's probably what I would do.
There you go. There we go. All right. Let's go. Let's move over. From Brett Walters, what cinematographer inspires you the most? What non-Dhamma project are you most proud of? Cinematographer.
Well, I
mentioned the skier.
Yeah.
So it's OG.
I should say
Ballard.
I should actually, because there's like in the film world, of course I have my guys for like making movies, but I think it's more interesting for me in this time to bring, to uplift some of the Dama people, like the Dama film people who have really like paved the way. And that for me is Colin and Jake. And both of those guys have done so much for me as a cinematographer, truly, and as a visual artist, outside of kendama.
We're talking Jake Weens, right? Clarify.
Jake Weens, yes. Colin Sanders, Jake, his editing. Jake's like the whole package, right? So it's like he's the kind of person, everything he touches is gold. Absolutely. It's not just the camera. It's not just the kendama play. Like you look in his house, you listen to the music that he's listening to, or that he's playing, or that he's beatboxing. You see all of it is one package. It's all of him. You see it in the font that he uses, where he chooses to put the font, how big to put it, how opaque to put it, when the font comes in on the beat drop, like using minimalist sound to amplify the sound of the oak, of the wood in the kendama.
The whole composition.
It's like he did so much for I mean, like him and I haven't really talked about it, but he's done so much for me in terms of just opening up a whole world to me visually, that I owe to him for sure. And if you're really keen, you can see how much influence, like in the WKT videos, there are from him specifically. There's a lot that I have taken and gotten from him. So shout out to Jake. He's amazing. Nice. So him, and then also, as I said, Colin, and from his edits to even edit 7 in particular was a visual masterpiece to me in terms of color and composition. And that was the first time, I really saw such like strong compositions and strong uses of color. And he was paying attention to where he was shooting in front of these particular doors, and putting this door on the side and creating negative space here. And then he was going to go inside of the negative space, and he was going to wear the complementary color to the door, and using a yellow kendama in front of a yellow door. And he was so on another level at the time. And once I got to know him, he really honestly taught me how to operate a camera. Because if you watch Colin in person operate a camera, he operates a camera like he's playing tennis. And Colin's a tennis player, actually. And Colin operates the camera by using his whole body. He uses his legs, he uses his hips, and he operates the camera as if he's playing kendama. So if you're playing kendama in front of him, he's also there with the camera, and he holds the camera like this, and he's doing the move with you, right? So you're there, and as you're going up and down, he's also going up and down. And then even when you would settle with the camera, he's moving like this.
Totally, yeah.
Right, and that's what you do in tennis. Like, okay, even once you're not playing yet, you're still there moving back and forth, and you're keeping your body loose. So when it comes to you, you're just ready to move. So you're already in this like state of flow. And that was something that like I do now all the time, operating the camera. Like it's a different kind of setup because it's like a bigger camera and you don't hold it like that. But
yeah,
you have this like device and you're like, yeah, it's this whole thing. But sometimes I'll operate on my shoulder.
mm-hmm.
But it's very much this now, you know, and there's very much this like rocking back and forth. You're following people. You're just trying to feel like with Kendama, there's a way of body where you're trying to track the thing as it goes up and down. And you see all this in Colin's like cinematography. And that's just something now where like, if I'm operating handheld, I'm completely mimicking that from just when I was like spending so much time with Colin. Because when I moved to LA, he was the only person I knew, and we'd spent a lot of time together, and we would like shoot stuff together, and he would shoot me sometimes playing Kendama, and I'd be playing like there's the chrome,
the zebra edit?
oak.
Oh, okay.
The zebra edit I did, but then he shot the smoked oak.
Yes.
And so we're under the LACMA lights, and if you watch it, he like even on a long lens, like I was in the middle and I'm doing this trick, you know, doing this like flips this way and that way, and I'm only moving vertically like 2 or 3 feet, but even from the back, he's feeling out the pace of my plane, so that right as I'm starting to like move down to start the trick, he's already like starting to move down with me. And then to pop, you know, and then he's mimicking the movement of my vertical movement, even from so far away. Even then, he's just like panning the camera where he's not, but then he's up with you on wide lens and then moving the whole distance with you. And that was like something for me now that's become completely, you know, essential. So
see how it makes sense for a lot of like, oh yeah, dude. Colin Sanders, Godfather of American Kendama.
But honestly, because like it's getting too nerdy, but like in typical cinematography, like classic, it doesn't operate like that. Like you operate on a shoulder, but you don't go vertically. Like you step and you're supposed to step smooth, but you move on like X axis. And on Z axis, but not really on Y axis as much. And you don't operate like you don't move the camera in a sense on a diagonal plane like here. Like you pan it and you move horizontally and vertically, but you're not moving on this plane.
Right.
And that's how Colin operates. He's moving around up and down, and he's just moving in this fluid motion with the camera, and that's like.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It definitely depends on the subject that you're shooting. You know, for cinematography, movies, you know, that's how you want to have it, like a beautiful picture. Yeah, and that's all. Like I'm just thinking about, you know, like a skateboarding. There's always the filmers aren't like cinematography guys. They're skaters who got into the hobby of filming, and they got the camera, so they understand what the trick is that's going to happen, so they know how to set up for it. Just like with Colin, he's a Kendama player. He knows the trick that you're going for. He knows like, okay, he's going to bend down this far. He's going to bring up the Kendama's going to go this high.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like, if you ever get the chance to shoot with him, Colin's amazing. I mean, I consider Colin a mentor to me. And if you're ever with him shooting, he's simultaneously coaching you and perfecting his own camera work at the same time, and it's all happening in a dialogue all at once. So as you're shooting, he's coaching you literally with like vocally saying like, all right, a little bit lower, little more spin on this, push it a little bit, like no, too soon on that, like bend lower, and it's just all coming out. And then at the same time, you can hear him in the way that he's like, okay, a little, you know, like you can hear him like thinking through how he needs to respond with the camera. And then he'll be like, okay, I'm honed, I'm ready. Okay, yeah, that was a good one for me, you know. And you can hear that he's catching onto your movement. So he's coaching your movement, your body movement, but then he's also working his body movement to get in sync with yours. And then you hear it when he's getting on it. And then when he's getting on it, you're probably also getting closer because he's been coaching you. and then you start to feel both of you guys come together, and then it just happens,
So much. It's a whole a system that is interlooped.
It's amazing. He's so like he's so him through everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just that he's good at composing. It's like to make a good image or to be an artist like that. It's just everything you do is just coming out of you.
Mm-hmm. Oof. All right, dudes. Here we go. Max Ida, send a bunch. Still on the Patreon, peeps. I think you covered it in the episode, but where are you now? Hey, where are you now? Not Ballard.
I'm in New York. I live in Brooklyn, New York.
There you go. Nice. Next. Do you find more enjoyment in playing or filming Dama?
Playing. I don't like filming Kendama anymore. It's so slow. I shoot now, dude. And you have like actors, big talent, who will come on, for such a short amount of time. They might come. We're shooting 12-hour days, and then they might come for 1 hour, and then we might do 4 setups in 1 hour. So you only have 15 minutes for one setup. Some really crucial shot where all this shit's happening, and it's so fast, and then we shoot like 12 hours, shoot all this shit. And then to think about like setting up a camera and then waiting for an hour for one Kendama trick.
Yeah.
It sounds like a nightmare to me.
All right, well, there you go. So playing Kendama. That's the best. All right. And last from Max Ida, any recent edits / filmers that you like and why? Kendama edits, filmers.
Yeah, right.
You mentioned that you're not watching it so closely.
Not really watching.
Yeah.
Who is I? Oh, I think Damon is really. I just follow people on Insta now, so that's kind of like the only way that I'm really like seeing it. But yeah, I think Damon's play and like video stuff is really interesting. I'm just like doing a quick look through. Oh, and then specifically Adrian Esteban.
Oh yeah.
I think his like, I really, yeah. If I ever get onto my accounts, like both of those guys, I think I just always enjoy watching anything those guys do.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And then there's a PS to that. To everyone who has a bunch of non-chopped footage on their computer, give us some encouragement to put our edits together. Everyone who's stacked clips but hasn't put in the time to the real time to put it all together, dude. Yeah, edit it. What some advice would you give them?
Ooh, I don't. I'll try and keep it short. No, I think
Cliff Notes.
I think it's like as I said about Colin, to be a good filmer or whatever, or to even be like, I could even say like as a Kendama player, like there's a particular roundedness, and I don't want to say roundedness, but I think it's about the whole package. I think the people, like even both of those guys that I mentioned, especially like Adrian, it's like his stuff looks a certain way and it complements how he's playing. And it's a whole like package thing, and you just feel it and get it all instantly, and it has a purpose behind it. And especially if you're a filmer, as I said, I said before, you only learn through editing, truly. So if you like, it does nothing to just sit with footage on a drive, because you won't learn anything. Like your real chops, which like we really learn rhythm, cadence, composition, it's all in editing. So yeah, I think
there you go.
So if you want to learn, if you want to get better, you just got to sit down and do it.
now's the time right now.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking like, most people just don't or are
Also,
afraid to fail.
I would say like, yeah, but now it's not. Now it's not about that. You know what I mean? Like every trick's been done. Like, I mean, obviously, I guess there's kids who are still trying to like do the best trick, but it's not like in life. It's not about being the best. You know, it's about becoming like the maximum version of yourself. And so, to me, it's not about what you do with the kendama, but how you do with the kendama.
Hell yeah.
You know, and Rod, I think like you're especially someone who like encapsulates that. I mean, obviously your kendama play is amazing, but also how you play the kendama is so unique and special, you know. And like you've just been doing your own thing and you've always stayed true to that. And so you've just been maximizing who you are through kendama, you know, and obviously you see that in just the way that you just swing spike, you know what I mean? Like to me, that's the most interesting thing. Like I don't care about the infinite taps. I just want to know how you swing spike and how you airplane. You know, that goes all the way back to like Shimadera. It goes back to like the way the OG like kendama DK edits. These are the things that I love. So I don't think it's about lacing the nastiest thing or whatever, you know. It's just about like who you are with the kendama, who's the spirit of the person but behind the kendama. Where do you set up your shot, you know? What's your vibe? Like I think that's it.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
All right, so that was all the questions from Patreon. Let's pick up just a few good ones from Instagram.
A couple of the bangers. Get those Insta bangers.
Yeah. Well, here's an easy one. It should be a yes or no. Are you still pro for Crom?
No.
There we go.
But we're still homies.
Right.
It's all good. It's all good love. It's all good love.
Yeah. I see on their accounts, on their website, you are still on the team. You're still very, very expensive to purchase. And
I know.
There is. Is there any background story behind that last picture of you in the red shirt? Is that you? Super, super pixelated picture. Looks like a green Ozora.
Let me get a look at this. I don't even know what picture.
They snuck that one in there. Yeah.
Oh God.
Wow.
Does it?
I don't know what picture you guys are talking about either. We're gonna have to throw this one up on the Instagram.
You got two. Hold on. Let me. I can share my screen, right?
Wait, hold on. Where? I only have two. No.
Bam. Hold on.
Red shirt. Where are you looking at me?
Is it sharing? You see
it? It is. Yeah. Oh, this one. Oh, that is a nice shirt.
Dude. Wow. Where are you finding that? Oh, that's only on the
Chrome Kendama JP.
That's some limited.
That's only on the Japan side. Eh? They got that picture of young Ballard with the green Zora.
Dude, look at the grip there, bro.
Yeah, that is a grip that you got. Like
that's. Dude,
you're holding it like you're like shaking a fist at like you're Italian and shaking your fist or something.
Dude, that video, the title of it is called Kendama Sesh. Is the video. And I used to hold the kendama like this. And in that video, I just do like moshikame and then like I tap it once and then I just end it. And that's the video.
Hell yeah.
And Nick's in that video. And then he comes in and he does like a big cup tap. And that's it.
That's sick. Is that one on the old WKT Facebook?
I think it is. Yeah. Actually, I should say that a while ago, I made a Vimeo account that's only for Wenatchee Kendama Team. It's the Wenatchee Kendama Team like Vimeo account, and I backlogged everything on there because like our edits were like spread out over Facebook and Vimeo and like random places, and I cataloged it all there. So if you ever want to, you can go find both of the films in like their unadulterated audio or their true audio, because like on YouTube
it cuts them
out or something. So on the Vimeo, everything's there, including some of like these super old edits.
Fuck
nice.
Yeah. Good to know.
All right. Okay, last one. Can we look forward to a full-length project anytime soon? We know that if you listen to, you haven't, Matt, but Keith mentioned if
OBM.
if he mentioned, he was like, if the WKT wanted to get back together, he's like, I wouldn't say no.
Do another video. Yeah.
Keith's
where we are now.
Yeah, Keith's the biggest proponent. We after where we are, we spoke about it quite a lot, and we had the code name OBM, which was the acronym for one big movie. and we used to talk about OBM all the time, like in secret, and we would just like be together, and then he would be like, "Yo, OBM," and I'd be like, "I don't know, bro."
That's sick. You guys are gonna have to get together and talk about OBM in secret again, so the rest of us can talk about it in public.
Yeah. Exactly.
Truly.
I think Keith and I need to talk about it soon, so we'll see.
Hell yeah! Fuck yeah, man! This is we were right. This was a nostalgic episode. We went deep.
That's why we had to go so deep, man.
Yeah, we had to.
That was like almost 3 hours. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we've been recording for like 2 hours 45 minutes. We'll see what it gets to after I chop it up a little bit, maybe. Not too much. Different, but
still so good, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back down memory lane and just to pick your brain about some of the things that you saw as you were coming up, as the things that you created, the history that you created for the Kendama scene, and just a little bit of what you're up to now. It's super great, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna get a lot of value out of this one.
Dude, it's so great to see you guys both. And I know everyone you're always listening to the podcast will say, "Yeah, man, thanks for having me on the show." but really, it's actually been really nice to talk with you guys, and I have so much love for Kendama and the whole community, truly, and I'm so grateful. So I'm so happy to share and spend time with you guys. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Well, I think I can speak for everybody. We all still love you too, buddy, as much as from day one.
Right.
Hell yeah.
I'll make another, surprise appearance soon somewhere.
Oh yeah, we'll all be looking forward to it, buddy.
Right.
I guess
only at the after show.
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's fine. As long as you get there.
Yeah, right.
But hell yeah. Yeah, I guess you nerds already know. We keep saying it. Hit us up on the Patreon, kendertainment.
Hells yeah.
Support the nerds and the crazy Ken games and all the madness that MJ gets up to.
And
yeah, get yourself some perks. Get some of those 45-minute questions in there at the end of a map.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, you never know.
You really never know. But I just want to say, again, thank you to everyone who has been supporting on there for the longest time. People who are jumping on recently, just thank you so much. It means the world. And just if that's not your boat, just share the Dhamma, share these videos and these podcasts that we're doing to someone who's maybe just getting into Dhamma, who maybe is curious about the history, about the players. Play
it for your friends. Yeah. Nerd out with a friend.
Nerd out with a friend.
That's what it's all about.
Hell yeah. That's why they make 2 headphones. You can share one with a friend.
That is really what it's all about. But yeah,
that is what it's all about.
Thank you, dude. Oh man, I just want to say I'm so sad when I saw Akimoto with that t-shirt. I was like, where the hell did you get that? Because I want one.
That's what it's all about.
There may be one in my house, at my house somewhere, in my parents' house. So I'll have a look the next time I'm there.
So man, or even
limited runs.
Oh man, runs. Or if it's cool, man, I would like to reproduce some for you guys or some shit. I don't even know,
bro,
but
of course,
dude,
yeah, hell yeah,
those are classic.
Dude,
that would
be tight.
What it's all about.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Yeah,
dude, you should just redo it, but do it like way better. Like you can take it and like turn it into like just a better font. Like whenever I see like any of shirts that I made at that time, I'm just like, what was I thinking in terms of that font? So you're way more tuned in on the design. So you should just take that phrase and make it something amazing. That'd be really cool.
It would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, dudes, nerds, thank you so much
to talk about
for joining us in this epic episode. New record, I think, for us.
Yes,
the length of this one.
We defeated Ben Harold. We got the new record.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I guess there's nothing left to say except for on that note, the nerds are out.
Peace.